Hello and welcome back to our series of Let's Explore. Today is the long-awaited Black Temple. Black Temple was one of the more famous, well-known raids from the Burning Crusade. It's one that is commonly still run for gear, for transmogs, for legendaries, for lore, for stories. It's all there. It's one of the more famous raids from the Burning Crusade patch. It has one of the most notorious and well-beloved lore characters as a final boss, the one and only Illidan Stormrage. The lore behind the place is pretty heavy. There's some crazy stuff attached to it. The bosses themselves are still fairly challenging. Couple of them at least for characters who are freshly geared or struggle with DPS. The place is massive, the gear is awesome, it's just a cool raid. Again, same as last time, we are in the Warrior Tier 6 here. As per usual, to put on display the gear or tier that we'd be getting from each particular raid. Accompanied by a very fancy mace that drops in here. This place has some of the cooler looking weapons and gear in it. You talk to most people and get a list of their favorite tier sets for their class, and usually on the average player's top 3 list, their class's Black Temple set is on that list somewhere. And just because it's worth showing off, here is the Warrior Tier 6 equipped with the Warglaives of Azzinoth in all of their glory. Now, to get to Black Temple, quickest way to get here is going to be to teleport from your faction's shrine in Pandaland, and you're going to want to take the portal to Sargeras City, also known as William Shatner City. And you're going to then fly down to Wildhammer Stronghold, unless you have done the quests and reputation grind and such leading up to opening up Sanctum of the Stars for you to use as a flight path. Also the Altar of Shatar. I believe as a horde, you're going to be up here in Shadow Moon Village, but then what you're going to do is you're going to fly towards the Black Temple, which is located over here on the far side of your map here in Shadow Moon Valley. And you're going to fly over until you reach this little section here. If you're going to look, it's got the busted open wall with the wood planks and the green instance portal to it, and in we go. Upon entering the Black Temple, you're going to come in here through the bottom. The whole operation and the way we're sneaking in here is kind of cool lore-wise. We're sneaking in, we're hoping to sneak up on Illidan, though it doesn't work quite well. It's worth mentioning that here at the beginning, as you progress through the raid, through different points eventually, once you get to the center room and unlock that, you'll be able to talk to this guy, and he will teleport you to the other Draenei like him. I believe they're called the Ash Tongue, if I'm not mistaken, and he'll teleport you to the middle of the raid so you don't have to walk the entire way. What you're looking for here is you're going to go up these waterfall sections here, these little paths. You can hit the trash up if you want, you can skip most of it if you hug the wall. As you can see, they patrol back and forth. And then if you just hug the wall over here, you're usually able to skip most of the trash. And a lot of the walls, they do have these little alcoves and doorways here that you can walk through and skip around. You will pick up a lot of netherweave cloth if you kill the trash mobs here, which if you're leveling up tailoring or just looking to make some extra gold, that will sell quite well. And here we are in our first boss. You will want to pull this trash mob though, simply because if you don't, they will aggro during the boss fight. If that's something you're not concerned with, or if your class does a mad amount of AoE, then it really doesn't matter. But if you're kind of a fresh geared 90 in here, then you might want to clear the trash just to help yourself out, make it a little bit easier. Same thing with these. Again, if you just pull these guys, kill them, get rid of them, and then you don't have to worry about fighting them when you go for the boss. Now for this boss, since we're getting a little bit deeper into the Burning Crusade raids, and we're getting closer and closer to current content, there are a couple mechanics you're going to need to look out for, especially if you're coming through here with friends or if you have low DPS. Typically what he will do, if you don't kill him quick enough and you're in here with friends, he will pick one of you at random and he will spike you to the ground, and you have to walk over to your party member and pick the spike up. And I believe you're able to throw it back at him. I can't remember. Usually I end up soloing it, so I haven't had to use the mechanic, but I know it is a thing. So look out for that. If he reaches a certain percentage, I believe it's 30%, 20%, and he sits there long enough, he will bubble himself and heal a little bit, so that's something to look out for. Again, if your DPS is low. As a fresh 90, that was something I had to kind of look out for and try to time my DPS around. But again, he was still very, very soloable. So with that, we're going to jump right in and go for the fight. For anybody in full Prideful gear or even just in LFR gear, the DPS and killing him should not be a problem at all. Especially if you pop cooldowns, not a problem at all. Funny thing about this fight though is, if you'll notice, your character kind of bugs out a little bit. And if you kind of go back and look again at the footage of the fight, your character doesn't actually move. He kind of just stands there and just strafes from side to side like he's floating. So we picked up our gold, got our polearm, one of the cooler looking polearms. I think looks like almost like a Romulan polearm from Star Trek. Kind of cool. How about some lore bits? Let's do some lore bits. Lore bits for this. Black Temple. Black Temple used to be a place of holy worship for the Draenei before they were overthrown by Magtheridon. You might remember Magtheridon from a couple episodes back when we did Let's Explore Magtheridon's Lair. Illidan basically, when he fled here to Outland, or it was called Draenor at the time, he basically came in and kicked Magtheridon out, beat the snot out of him, imprisoned him in Hellfire Peninsula, and took over the temple. And so this is now where Illidan rules. He has his lackeys set up in here. He used to rule over Outland with an iron fist quite cruelly, but then as of recently, and by recently I mean, you know, what was recent in patch 2.1, he started releasing his iron rule, and he started kind of really only caring so much about anybody who would come to challenge him. He got kind of pompous and arrogant, and I mean, if you're the Lord of Outland, I don't really blame you. He's a very, very powerful man, demon, night elf, lots of things. And so, yeah, so Illidan now rules here. Magtheridon's imprisoned. Illidan has his workers and watchers everywhere throughout Outland, watching and looking. Interesting little bit of controversy when it comes to Black Temple. Originally, when it mentioned, as far as lore goes, Magtheridon ruled from the Black Citadel is what it was called. It was mentioned that it was actually in Hellfire Peninsula, or in Hellfire Citadel. And then when, you know, World of Warcraft came around and the lore bits changed, and all of a sudden Black Temple, which is the same as the Black Citadel, turns out to be in Shadowmoon Valley. I don't know if there's ever been anything commenting on that at all, but I think it's interesting that there's a little bit of that indiscrepancy there. Our next boss here in Black Temple, boss 2 of 8, is Supremus. As you can see, he is a demon classified boss. He looks a lot like the Warlock pet. Be kind of cool if Warlocks could reskin or change the look of their pet to go like this, but as you can see, he's just absolutely massive. Not really too many mechanics to look out for with him. Just watch out for the fire that he will spawn on the ground. Don't stand in it if you're concerned with taking damage, because after a while it does start to hurt a little bit. Well, actually not really. Never mind, stand in the fire all you want. I'm gonna do it. You should do it. All the cool kids stand in the fire. Actually, don't do that. Especially if you're a raider. Just don't. But as you see, Supremus goes down pretty quick. No mechanics really that need to be watched out for. I believe he does have an enrage mechanic, where if the fight lasts too long, he will enrage. But even if you're low geared, the fight shouldn't last that long at all. So we got some leather, and some mail, and some gold. He just kind of crumbles apart here on the floor. Such a cool looking place. Like, it just makes you feel so small how massive this Black Temple is. You might recognize the statues from the Dark Portal. Very similar architecture. Now this is the room that you will be teleported to after you begin to clear it. If you talk to that first Draenei at the opening of the Black Temple, this is the room you'll get to. These trash mobs, these are some of the ones you'll end up fighting a bit of just to get around throughout the place. Now, if you look over in the left corner, how you have the ash tongues over there, try not to attack them, because you don't need to unless you're just looking for the loot and the trash to pick up. Because after you beat our third boss, they actually become friendly. And so you can save yourself a lot of time clearing the trash if you just clear our third boss here. Now, what's kind of cool about this room, though, is you don't have to do these bosses in any particular order. There's a boss in this door here. It's right here. There's a boss straight away down there. And then there's a boss on the other end back in there. You can do them any order you want. I just prefer to do it this way because, again, it cuts down on the amount of trash I have to potentially deal with. And as you can see, we pulled anyways somehow. So after you've cleared the trash, come back and we can talk to Akama. And the fight begins. Now, Akama is not to be confused with the Dragon Ball Z character Kami. A little bit of a difference. Not much, but a little bit. Just noticeable. I think it's the tentacle things on the face. I think that might be the deciding factor. But I can't be sure. So this fight, as you can see, pretty straightforward. Just kill the ads while he creepily and slowly walks towards Akama, and then as soon as he is attackable, you light him up. He has the lowest health out of any of the bosses here, just under 1 million with 701,000, so he goes down really quickly. There's the boots that match our set, and there's some leather working plans, and some belts, and there it is. And we're not going to stick around for it, but he does a cool little monologue where he starts talking to the other ash tongue in the place. And this is then what makes them be neutral. Sorry, I killed a couple of them prematurely. They attacked me first. Now we're going to head up just the hallway here. As we leave Akama's room, we're just going to make a right and keep going straight to our next boss. Now as we move towards our next boss, we're going to talk about him a little bit. His name is Taryn Gorefiend. There is a cool little chain quest regarding his story leading up to kind of his release and how he gets into Black Temple here out in Shadow Moon Valley as well. I don't particularly remember where it starts, but Wowhead and Google are your friend. Taryn Gorefiend is a bit of an anomaly. He's an interesting character in that he is himself fairly unique in that he is a demon and a death knight. Quite an interesting little conundrum there. He's like a mix of a warrior and a warlock, and he's also the one that drops our mace. So if you're looking for a cool two-hander, you might want to come in here and check out Taryn Gorefiend. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I lied. He does not drop our mace. Taryn Gorefiend drops this axe, which is another notable two-hander in here. That was my debate was between this axe here, the Soul Cleaver, or the Torch of the Damned, and I just had to go with the Torch of the Damned. But there's some cool cloth that drops off of him as well. Sorry, again, I've proven myself to be a liar. Taryn Gorefiend, if you're souling it with some decent DPS, again, not too many mechanics that are notable or worth being afraid of. He will summon these Orby thingies, and if the fight lasts long enough, especially with multiple people, eventually one of you will be picked for insta-death. But again, this stuff is so soloable now that it's not even worth really mentioning almost. I have been soloing this raid since the very first patch of Mista Pandaria. Fresh level 90 came in here, started doing it because that's really when I started getting into soloing as many old raids as I could. It just became a fun pastime for me. And there he goes, and down he goes. Occasionally, as the fight goes on long enough, he will summon adds, but again, DPS, even at just a measly 88k, again, not even really trying, he'll go down no problem. There's the drops. And we have some similar looking gauntlets to our set there, and a really cool looking cloth headpiece. Now for our next trek of this bit, as you can see, all the Asht tongue are now neutral. As we get to the center of this room, back again. Over here is where you will get teleported if you talk to the other Asht tongue there at the beginning of the raid. As you grind up rep with these guys, you actually are able to unlock blacksmithing plans here, which gives a full matching set. If you're into that sort of thing, more power to you. They also sell a trinket, which was pretty cool back in the day. They repair your items, and you can sell all the stuff you don't plan on keeping or you already have. We're just across to the other side here of this little platform, and we're going to head back to the other door, which again, if you'll look on your map, is right back here. If you didn't know it was here, you wouldn't think it was here. Wahaha. Figure that one out. Actually, I guess it kind of makes sense. We're going to keep walking through, and there's actually two bosses back in this section, which again are worth mentioning that they are probably the two that will give you the biggest trouble. These behemoths can all be avoided. You don't need to fight them. You can if you want, but if you're not interested in a tussle and again trying to get through, they can be avoided. This trash pack, however, cannot. I don't think these guys can be avoided either. Let's find out. Guess they can. I usually just fight them, because it's just easier, because they're kind of in the way of everything. But I think at level 70 they couldn't be avoided, but now they can. Our next boss, Gurtog Bloodboil. If you're squishy or under geared, or just kind of lacking DPS, all above, any mixture of the three, he may give you the trouble because he does have a stacking debuff on you, and he will disorient you and poison you. He's kind of a vile little bugger. He's a brute. So just keep an eye on that. As you can see, this debuff, Acidic Wound, it reduces your armor consistently, and it inflicts nature damage every second. So, and that will continue to stack, and then he'll put this on you, which does 600 physical damage every second. So again, he just kind of keeps that stacking, keeps that going. At first, again, this was a bit of a tough fight for me as a fresh geared, all in blues 90, but practice makes perfect. And again, now DPS is so high that it doesn't even matter. He does have a knockback that I forgot about until then. Sorry. But again, does all that, it's good to go. He drops something worth noting. He drops a really cool looking staff, which I know a lot of priests love because it matches their tier set. And as well, he drops the blue reskin of our tier legs, which is kind of neat if you're into that thing. There he is, easily sorted out. Just keep an eye on that debuff, because again, it does persist and last after, so you may be able to finish the fight but die afterwards, depending on how much damage you took. Of course, just timing your defensive cooldowns well with that shouldn't be a problem. Our next boss, however, can be a pain in the butt, even for a fresh or fully geared 90, simply because it does a ton of percentage damage. It will fear you and disorient you and send you all over the place. It has 3 phases. Luckily, in between the phases, you're able to heal yourself up to full health, which is extremely helpful. But again, if you're not paying attention, you can and will wipe yourself. So just keep an eye on that. We'll explain that as we go. Hopefully we won't make any mistakes and I won't make a fool of myself, because that would be embarrassing. This is the Reliquary of Souls. It has 3 phases, each based on a different emotion. Kind of a cool fight, very cool mechanics, just very, very rough. give it a couple seconds. The moment you step off that platform, the fight will start. So do not walk over here until you're ready to go. Save your damaging cooldowns and your defensive cooldowns for the second phase. Once you get through the second phase, you've pretty much got it. But that second phase is the worst. Nothing to worry about really on this first phase. He floats back, does his thing, resets there, hugs himself in his little cage. And as you can see, these little lights will show up, and for everyone that you kill, you get a pretty gnarly self-heal there. So just keep killing them. They're going to come towards you anyways. So by the time you do get into the second leg of the fight, you will be at full health. So that's quite helpful. If you have a PvP trinket, I would use it for this fight. Any remove fear disorienting effect is helpful. Any defensive stance you can go in. Blood Presence defensive stance is great because she will do a ton of damage. Damage taken, damage dealt, everything. I tend to like to try to kind of just pop my defensive cooldowns, offensive cooldowns, and just go for it. But as you can see, I'm taking a whole lot of damage really quickly. Second wind can only carry you so far. All because of this. The debuff is horrible. But we made it through. Did alright. I didn't die, so that's not embarrassing. And here are the Enslaved Souls again, back to heal us. How kind of them. They're pretty nice for being enslaved. I mean, I feel like if you got chains around your entire body like that, you'd be kind of grumpy. But they're cool. We'll invite them over for a pizza party. In video games. And at this point, once you've made it through that phase, you pretty much got it. Last and not least, the Essence of Anger. He comes out. Oh, he's angry. He kind of looks like Benedict Cumberbatch. Like an angry Benedict Cumberbatch. Swap back over to Battle Stance. He does have a debuff that will do shadow damage over time, and it does increase over time. But at this point, again, just done with. So there's that little wand and some leather. Pretty common drops. But there it is, all bashed up, smashed up. That's what you get for fighting dirty. So you can just remember, just by way of recap, the moment you step off of this platform onto the flat ground there, the fight will start. So keep an eye on that if you're not quite ready to begin your fight. As you're making your way back through the hallway, you'll go back towards those doors again, and you just go back out that side door or the center door that you first came in. And we're gonna head on out and up. Now for Black Temple to be finished, this particular room is non-linear, but it does have to be completed in its entirety to move forward. You cannot get to Illidan Stormrage or the Betrayer until you finish this room. This is where we're gonna exit, but this room is locked and closed if you don't kill all these bosses. So something to keep in mind. Most of the trash in here can be avoided. They do come in pretty large packs, so if you pull one, you'll pull a lot of them. Although the gnome is really tempted to kill. Now let him be. Lots of stairs at this point. We're heading up to the top of the temple. And here we are out on the veranda. You might end up pulling some of these mobs as you walk through. Yeah, so they kind of are on a combined little aggro table there. But that's okay. And here is our third to last boss, second to last boss. Mother Shahars. Shahazra? Shahazra. I can never pronounce that right. She does have a disarm effect, I believe. She herself cannot be disarmed. As you can see, it would be pointless. She has 6 of them. She's only using 4 swords though. What is wrong with her? Luckily, if you do fight her, she doesn't pull anything you didn't kill, so you can just fight her up here. And it won't be a problem. No mechanics really to take note of except for the silence. If you're a caster or a melee caster hybrid, take note of that. She does drop your shoulders you're looking for, and typically she will drop one of each, though she is notorious for dropping doubles, as you can see here. But again, on a common run, she'll usually drop one of each. Second to last boss fight is the Illidari Council. It's a mixture of 4 Blood Elves that aren't so much hard as much as they will just test your endurance and your timing of interrupts. There is one and one only that you will need to and want to target, because she does heal them, and you don't want that. That's bad. You can spend a lot of time here, a lot of unnecessary time here, if you're not paying attention. So again, it's more of a test of your endurance and your survivability as a player, especially fresh 90, fresh geared, low DPS, all this, the usuals. If you're fairly well geared or experienced with it, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Death Knights do awesome in this fight, especially because of Necrotic Strike, since it absorbs healing. Also, Death Knights have quite a few spellcasting interrupts, especially if you're playing on Holy. So again, as you can see, there are 4 of them. They all have different things that they will do. But the only one you need to worry about is Lady Melande. I personally prefer to mark her so I don't lose track of her amidst everything that's going on. As you see, the balance of power health shared with other Illidari Council members. Charge in, start attacking. The only thing you need to worry about interrupting is, I forget the name of it, so as soon as we find it, I will let you know. It's not Empowered Smite, that's the damage one. She can cast that all she wants. Circle of Healing. You see Circle of Healing come out? Interrupt it, because that will heal all of them. And since they're on a shared health pool, you obviously don't want all of them being healed. So just keep an eye out for that. Make sure you get that interrupt off every time, or as close to every time as you can, and you'll do alright. Now, before you go up to fight Illidan, you need to talk to Akama, and that will begin the phase where he runs up to open the door for you. Illidari Council does drop your leg tier tokens for your tier 6, so they're kind of a noteworthy and important raid boss to kill if you are after your tier. After Akama has a scene with his fellow Oathsworn, he shall open the door. He runs up the stairs and he waits for you. And there he is, if you look, there is Illidan Stormrage, the Betrayer. And you can run around there all you want. He won't aggro, won't do anything. You have to talk to Akama for the fight to start. Says we are ready to face Illidan. Go over here. Cool little monologue RP where they go back and forth. Now, leading up to this, Akama had to kind of prove his loyalty to Illidan. Illidan had some reasons to doubt him. And even when Akama did everything Illidan asks, and there's a whole lot of quest chains that you can go through and take a look at that, Illidan still wasn't quite sure, so he's like, I curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. And yeah, he's not convinced and not surprised. Illidan Stormrage himself is actually a pretty easy fight, even with low DPS. He never really ever gets to his big phase. The only phase that really can wipe you will be the second phase, which we'll get through pretty quickly here, where he'll fly up into the air, he'll throw his Warglaives of Azzinoth to the ground and summon the Flames of Azzinoth, which will come out, deal fire damage, which is also percentage based. Luckily he still ticks for bleed damage. I don't think it was you who was repaired, Illidan. I don't think you were prepared. Defensive stances typically work really well here. Originally, when I did do this fight, I had to do it as prot when I was severely undergeared, just because I needed the defensive cooldown. So watch out for those flying orbs he'll throw at you. Obviously, you don't want to stand in the fire here, but again, they go down with typically no trouble. But if you're undergeared and you keep wiping on it, you've tried moving out of the fire, you've tried moving around a lot, you might want to switch to a protection spec just to ensure your survivability. Again, you're not necessarily looking for speed as much as you just want to live. Because as long as you live, you get to loot it. And that's what we're here for, the loot. He gets down to here, and regardless of where you're at, he always stops you. RP event. I always like to zoom in to see what kind of pose he leaves my character in. Well, that one's kind of cool that time. Sometimes you end up in a really funny position. The reason there's so many RP events with so many of these bosses, because these are such lore-heavy characters and such beloved characters. Like, if you're going to kill them off in an MMORPG, you've got to give them a pretty cool exit. So, it's kind of an homage to them. Now, if he doesn't die fast enough here, he'll go into his Demon Hunter phase and he goes crazy. I have never seen him make it to Demon Hunter phase. There's just, the damage is too high now in the game to where there's no point. There's no way he'll reach that. And with that, he goes down. And he's still taking for bleed damage. I'm bleeding. I wasn't very respectful, I'm sorry. You're on your last breath, and here I am making fun of you. And there he goes. Of course. Well, this is what most rogues, druids, or monks will come here for. That's the Cursed Vision of Sargeras. I believe it is the only blindfold leather. Actually, it's the only blindfold headpiece period in the game. It is epic looking. It's kind of a cool little bit, especially for rogues and monks. I think it's cool just with the whole blind assassin or blind martial arts master aesthetic to it. Still works great for druids, but you're shape-shifted so much of the time anyways, it almost doesn't matter. But he is where your Warglaives of Azeroth are going to drop, if they're going to drop. They do have a pretty low drop chance, so if you're here farming them, you might be here a while. But that is Black Temple. Like you can see, pretty simple now. But do just keep an eye out for the few bosses that we mentioned that can potentially give you a hard time. Again, so much of it is percentage damage, little mechanics in there, but again, very soloable raid. Very, very doable. Just again, getting your timing down on some of those things, and you should be fine. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found this entertaining. Looking forward to continuing on. Our next one and our last in the Burning Crusade segments of Let's Explore How to Solo will be the Sunwell. Sunwell comes up next week. It should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. I do enjoy the Sunwell raid. Very different aesthetic than Black Temple. It's very bright, very vibrant. So it'll be very, very different feel. But again, this has been Let's Explore Black Temple. If you have any questions, any comments, anything like that, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comment section. I'll usually respond back to it pretty quickly. Other than that, if you did enjoy it, please do leave a like. Don't hesitate, and please do share this if you have friends or anybody who you know that would be interested in this. It does help. I do appreciate it. Thank you for some of the positive feedback I've been getting from some of you, whether it's been in person, private message, just the comment and things like that. It's appreciated. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy interacting with quite a few of you that are fairly active in interacting with me. So other than that, we're just going to end it here before I continue pointlessly rambling on. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.